Good afternoon. We're Team Supreme. The challenge that we're presenting for is Challenge 3 Mitigation Mastery Decoding the Dynamics of Risk Reduction. The purpose of the challenge is to help risk managers understand and measure the effectiveness of mitigation actions in reducing project risks related to scope, schedule, and cost, and also to learn from both successful and unsuccessful mitigations. Based on the data provided, our team focused on three mitigation metrics: cost, criticality, probability. We used a measure of ones and zeros to determine if the project was stable or positively changing in order to support the personas in identifying which risks that needed reviewing.
Our first steps were to examine and understand the data we were provided. We investigated the data, which consisted of a range of risk and mitigation data across a range of projects and portfolios, including factors such as risk category, pre and post mitigation costs, and risk severity. We were provided with over 17,000 rows of project risk and mitigation data. Firstly, we looked at data health. We created health metrics to understand the quality of our data across a range of fields. From this, we could see that there was poor data quality, with many missing fields. Some fields had less than 50% of the data completed, highlighting the issues with data quality. We created a Power BI dashboard, which enabled further drill down into the data health, enabling it to be understood and interrogated at a portfolio and project level. This work highlights the importance of good data governance and good data capture, which is missing from some of our data sets.
As explained previously, we use cost, risk probability, and criticality to measure the success of a mitigation. We could then use this classification to filter for successful and unsuccessful mitigations. Using Python, and more specifically LangChain and Pandas, we cross-reference the successful and unsuccessful mitigations to their respective mitigation actions. We then took the list of these actions for each and passed them through the LLM to retrieve themes across both of them.
I'd like to take your attention back to the dashboard, and we'll start off with looking at this cost view. Now, the cost view gives an opportunity to contrast projected mitigation costs with actual mitigation costs, and we also have a line over here to denote how many of these mitigation action descriptions were used. But that's not all. Users are also given the unique opportunity to see what was the most used strategy mitigating the risk in question, and that is by this pie chart visual over here. But we're not restricted only to this portfolio axis. Users are allowed to use drop downs on here to select via organization, portfolio, project, and even risk category. The next page we are looking at is the probability view. And this is similar in all ways, the only difference being the fields for the graph. Instead of contrasting projected mitigation costs with actual mitigation costs, we are contrasting the perceived percentage of the risk occurring prior to the mitigation with the actual percentage. And here, once again, we have an orange line to denote mitigation action description.
Criticality view is essentially a visualization of the seriousness or the criticality of risk. Along the top here, we have two measures, true and false. True is when the mitigation has worked and the criticality of the risk has decreased after the mitigation has put in place, and false is the opposite. We are viewing here currently by portfolio ID. If I was to click here, for example, and any of the bars, then this will show you approximately 3,000 entries in this box down here where the mitigation has worked. You can see a description of the mitigation along with the mitigation strategy or objective. You can go to this. You can drill down further into the graph if you want to see by risk category, say if you're a risk owner. And you can see, for example, in the bid management, if you'd like to see the mitigations that have worked, again, you can click here and you can see the description and the strategy down here. Finally, you have the risks by mitigation strategy in a pie chart on the right here. Sometimes the risk Sometimes the risk has a mitigation where we are trying to reduce the risk or accepting the risk or avoiding the risk, etc. And we can see just how many risks they are according to mitigation strategy. So for example, if I was to click on this here, this would mean that 57% of the risks have a mitigation strategy where we would like to reduce the risks.
Question 1. Yes, we are able to highlight a difference between pre and post mitigation for cost, probability, and criticality. We can also plot a trend line showing a count of mitigations. Question 2. Yes, in each dashboard you can see the mitigations and the mitigation ID, which includes the risk ID. Question 3. Yes, we've handpicked the data fields based on the pain points in the Hack Pack challenge. We also looked at data quality and have highlighted DQ on the dashboard that drills down from portfolio to project.